to Sad Dad. It's our first episode. Well, my first episode. I'm the only one here at the moment. My name's Dave Abkarian, and this is a podcast I've wanted to do where we talk about dads. I'm a comedian here out of Fresno, California, and I have my funny friends come on, and we talk about our dads, and maybe if they're also a dad because I'm a dad, maybe we talk about that too, and all sort of with the aim of making me a better dad. You know, there's a lot of it's kind of a crazy time to be a dad right now. You know, there's for me personally, at least, there's a lot of confusion over masculinity and what that means, and you know, in the wake of the Me Too movement, what does it mean to be a good dad? You know, and especially for a guy like me that has a daughter. And so I have a lot of questions about that. I'm trying to figure out all of that and how we should do it. And comedians naturally tend to be thinkers. You know, I mean, that's not going to be the premise of all of this. No, a lot of it's just going to be anecdotal stories about our dads. And our first episode here today is with a guy named Kyle Shire, who's a very talented comedian out of L.A., originally from Chicago. He'll talk a lot about that in the episode. So I'm just listening, just hearing stories, really, and getting to know these guys. This episode's pretty fun. It's our first one. We spend the first 10 minutes or so just kind of riffing back and forth. About 5 minutes in, I experience a pretty bad technical difficulty where my microphone cuts out. I thought about editing all of that out, but Kyle kind of takes the show over and makes it fun. So I decided to leave all that in after all. So yeah, we're doing this. We're doing this, guys. I'm excited. This is a bit of a passion project for me, and I've worked pretty hard over the last few months to do this. I have a little bit of a background in audio engineering, so I kind of understood a lot of the front end stuff, you know, with when it comes to microphones and mixing boards and, you know, recording onto your laptop and all that fun stuff. I had to do a lot of research on the back end stuff. You know, how do you take that recording and put it on iTunes? I don't know. I mean, I know now. So that's cool. I assume maybe some of you are listening to it on iTunes. If you like it, rate it, review it. Podcasts kind of live and die by that sort of thing. I will say we recorded this episode just sitting at my kitchen table. I set up all my gear and we chatted. And there's some noise, some background noise. You know, I live right off kind of a busy country road, so you get a little bit of that. And my microphones pick up a big truck or two going by, and I'm about a quarter mile from a train, so you'll hear a train or two, I think, go by also. So sorry about that. There's also a lot of cheeping, a lot of bird chirping going on at certain points. Oh, I can hear that. You hear that? That's the train I'm talking about. Just click-clacking down the tracks, just doing its train thing. So, yeah, there's a lot of bird chirping at certain points in the podcast. I was listening back to it. I'm like, man, that's excessive. And I had cut down a few trees in my front yard a while back, and the birds didn't take the hint, so they all moved to the underneath the eaves of my porch, and they're real active during the mid-morning, which is when Kyle and I sat down to record that podcast. So I'll do my best to limit that in the future. I've got much quieter places around here that maybe I can start setting my gear up in. It's just the kitchen table was just the most comfortable spot at that moment. So, yeah, I'm giving you this little intro here. We're gonna get into the podcast here in just a second. I think that's really it. That's the premise of the show. Kind of almost like an oral history of dads. I don't want to talk your face off. I know I don't like long podcast intros myself. So let's just get into the meat of this thing, and I'll see you on the other side of this, if that's cool with you. All right. I'll be back in like 45 minutes. Okay. I mean, you're still gonna hear me talking with Kyle, but like kind of like in this meta, this voiceover thing where it's just me. Call it a wraparound. Where you kind of talk a little at the beginning and introduce the podcast, and then you get into the meat of it, and then kind of bookend it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. Bye. Yeah, brothers, put those on there.
I love this. You got a great setup here.
Thank you.
Is this all from doing like music or like?
I have a little bit of a background in audio engineering, and I've always wanted to do a podcast, but couldn't really like decide on a premise. And this one kind of hit me a few months ago, and
Sure.
so I've slowly been like accruing the setup that I've wanted.
Yeah.
So, and I finally, sadly, I found an old retirement plan that I had, like an old IRA, and so I cashed that out. I'm going all in on this. You're literally speaking into my retirement right now.
Can I lower the volume on this just a little bit?
Sure can. How's that? Is that
That's
better?
great.
Is it
Yeah.
better? Okay, cool. Awesome. Cool. I've secretly been recording you this entire time.
Oh no!
Did you see me do that?
Very sexy.
I didn't want to make it. I didn't want to make it weird. Like, okay, we're recording now.
Psychosexual mind games, man. How did you know?
Cool.
It's my birthday.
I'm sitting here across from a very funny comedian named Kyle Shire, who's up doing a run of shows with my partner and I, Danny Minch. You've been crushing it, man. This has been an amazing run.
Oh, thank you, man. That really means a lot.
Yeah, you've been having fun?
Yeah, I've been having a blast. I didn't know what to expect coming up to Fresno, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Yeah, you had a couple of questions for me because, well, first of all, we had never met in person. Before you came up here, we had followed each other on social media for a while, and
Yeah, I was just following a hot mustache.
I get it.
Yeah, totally.
And I didn't know what to make of you because your social media posts are like one of like three things. They're like
Okay, what are they?
they're either the nerdiest thing I've ever read,
Yes.
the manliest thing I've ever read,
Oh,
which is some gym post, or the gayest thing I've ever read.
when do what you love and the money will come. Yeah. I guess.
So yeah, and then I heard you on Kyle Clark's podcast, the Steven Universe.
Oh yeah, This Is Rad. Yeah,
and I was like, oh, this guy's awesome.
Oh.
So you were great on that. And then Kyle was up doing some shows, Kyle Clark, and he was like, you need to have Kyle Shire up here, and I was like,
that guy, that lovable ginger giant ragamuffin.
he was up. He was super sick. Like, he literally spent his whole run of shows. If he wasn't performing, he was like throwing up in my bathroom. He had terrible food poisoning the entire time.
Oh, that poor guy.
Yeah, but he was great, man. He was good. So.
He did the run of shows even though he had food poisoning. That's a professional.
Yeah, totally.
That's a fucking professional. Oh my god.
And you're kind of like my first guest, I guess I could say. I've done a couple of episodes like solo, yeah, thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you for having me.
What are some of your impressions of Fresno so far?
It's nice. I've only really driven like through it, like going up to like. I've driven kind of past it. Because going up to Yosemite one time, and that was kind of my only impression of it was what I got from gas stations.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was like a giant chain of gas stations. That's what I thought Fresno was.
One of those gas station towns.
This is a gas town, boy. Get out of here. Let's find gas.
And you're originally from Chicago?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago. I was born in North Carolina, but I moved to Chicago when I was real little.
Yeah. And you have two older sisters that we haven't talked. Kyle and I have literally been hanging out nonstop for the last 36 hours.
Yeah.
Staying at my house. I cut out a little bit there. Okay.
I did too.
Here we go. Sorry. It's, over there.
Oh.
You're still there.
I'm still here.
That's, come on.
I'm still here.
You're crushing it. Oh, is it that? No. It's my mic. It's not your mic. That's okay. Well, let me switch this thing out real quick.
All right.
But in the meantime, here we go.
There we go. Now it's working.
Now
it's back.
Working again. Is that, you know what? I'll switch out my mic real quick.
All right.
Come on now. Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. That's
all right. Just don't bump it ever.
I'd never touch it. And you know, it's my own hubris because I was like, I want the good microphone. And I don't really know how much better it is. It just looks a little bit cooler.
I get it. I get it. It's a little bit crushed. I got kind of a can looking one.
Yeah. And that's what I should have had a better retirement.
Yeah.
Because I afforded a better microphone.
I like my microphone. It's got like a Haldeman haircut shape to it.
Yeah.
It's a Nixon reference.
You go on the deep cut. Okay, I'm going to switch this thing out. It's being a little bitch. Hang on a second.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's how we roll. Your mic is still hot, though. It'll probably pick up me.
Oh, my mic is hot, baby.
And that's
totally... Here's the thing that Dave Eckarian's doing right now. He's getting up. He's going over to his he's got a giant box that's big enough to hold a corpse if he so chooses. And he's grabbing another microphone out of it because he's not a murderer. At least when he's not on stage.
Hey-o!
What?
Oh.
No, literally, he kills people when he's on stage.
Very avant-garde act.
It's very avant-garde.
I can't even fit my Magnum-sized microphone in there.
Oh my!
Hey-o.
He can't fit his giant mic in there. I got some lube. I got some lube. I got some poppers. I'll give your mic stand some poppers.
You were bragging about the Fresno grinder scene.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot going on there at the Fresno grinder scene. A lot of faceless grinder profile pictures hitting me up going like, hey, man, you like DL dudes? DL stands for down low or closeted dudes. Yeah, there's...
that's fun.
Yeah, when you get out of the major cities, sometimes it's just a treasure trove of men who don't know what they like yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're just figuring it out?
Just figuring it out, which like is hot in theory. I talk about it in my act, like straight guys are hot in theory. In practice, not so much.
That edamame bit is so good.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's such a visceral visual.
It is. Also, like all guys have had bad head before.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like we've all had bad head where it's just like, why is there teeth? Why is there teeth? Do you not know where your teeth are?
Well, like I had a back before I was doing comedy, I had a comedian do like a bit of crowd work on me, and he was like, "Have you ever had a bad blowjob, bro?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, and then he was not prepared for me to say yeah.
Wait, was the bit that there's no such thing as a bad blowjob?
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
You either have not had enough sex or have no imagination.
Yeah, right.
There are plenty of ways a blowjob can go bad.
I mean, I felt bad because clearly he was not prepared for the crowd work to go that way.
Yeah.
He was expecting me, and then I tripped him up, and then I had guilt. That was back before I knew anything about comedy. That's not my fault.
I wouldn't feel guilt about that.
Sure. No, not anymore.
Because honestly, you were helping him with that bit because that's a bad bit.
It was not a great bit. Yeah. Hang on. I know that now. There we go. Check.
Oh, I'm still not hearing you.
Oh, this mic's a little...
Oh, there you are.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Hey,
okay.
buddy.
I'm back. We're back, baby.
We're back, baby, and talking about BJ's.
We were talking about Mentos earlier, and I still have that song in my head.
Those commercials, man. Those commercials were crazy.
They were.
Like, whose idea was it? Like, oh yeah, like what was the one that was crazy? There was one where it was a woman in high heels, and she's walking, and then there's a man reading a newspaper in like a business suit at like a nearby cafe, and he's watching her, and her heel breaks, and he starts laughing like, oh, her heel broke, and she's like, oh no, my heel broke, and he's like, what? How's she gonna get out of this one? And her solution is to break the heel off her other shoe, and then she just walks away, and he just is shaking his head like, look at her, she's so folksy.
Yeah, and the fact that you're actively rooting for somebody's heel to break, like, how long has he been sitting at this cafe?
It's definitely a foot fetish thing.
And secondly, like, I mean, it's still what. You still couldn't walk in those shoes, right? Like your toes would be all pointed upward.
I mean, they're essentially she's essentially turning them into flats, which I get.
Sure,
I understand.
Yeah.
She's but as far as I've never worn women's shoes before because I have a size 16 shoe.
Yeah,
if I did not have a size 16 shoe, I totally would have tried women's shoes.
Yeah, right.
Just for funsies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I assume that structurally it's not made to be worn flat.
I wouldn't think so. No, and the listening audience at home, Kyle is 6'5".
Yeah, I'm a giant.
Yeah, you're a very tall man. Have you ever seen those tall guys that carry those cards around, like they hand them to people, like, yes, I am 6'5".
Are you serious?
Yeah,
people do that.
Yeah, it's like in response to having like so many questions about their height, but. You seem like you're open to it.
Yeah, I just don't care. Like, you want to ask me about my height? Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's talk.
It doesn't like bother me anymore. I don't know. I had a one incident in like when I was in like fucking 6th grade or whatever, and I can swear on here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, I was in 6th grade, and I saw this girl walk down the hallway, and she like walked down the hallway, walked right up to me, and said, "You're too tall," and then walked back down the other hallway and left, as if her intent was to walk up to me in that hallway and just to tell me you're too tall, and then leave. So like, you can't get any worse than that.
Yeah, I bet. And I wonder how she's doing these days.
She's dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
She might be. Or she's living in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Yeah.
Same difference.
What's the Des Plaines? It's just, you mentioned it's like a suburb of Chicago?
Yeah, it's like it's literally the shadow of O'Hare Airport.
Okay.
It's like basically Des Plaines was a town that was built for the people building the airport.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a town because it's a major train stop in that part of Illinois, but it became the suburb that it is today because of the construction of O'Hare Airport.
Oh, well, there you go. It's similar. There's like a literal flyover city, right?
Literally, yeah. But it was right outside Chicago, and I could like ride my bike into Chicago proper if I wanted to.
Oh, that's
cool. It's really close.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man.
Yeah.
And is all your family still back that direction? Or
my mom is still in Des Plaines. My uncle, who's was kind of like a surrogate dad for me, is in Park Ridge, which is like the sister city. It's where Hillary Rodham Clinton went to high school for a few months. Heyo, Maine East.
Lock her up.
I went to lock her up. She only went to Park Ridge to Maine East for a few months. No, I went to Maine West, and there are no noteworthy people who went to Maine West.
Really?
No.
I mean, I like you.
I know, I'm nice.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
great.
cool.
You're noteworthy. Kyle has just been absolutely crushing it in our rooms. Like your first show up, we've done 3 shows now. We've got one more tonight, and it's just, you just keep like, we were talking about it last night. You're just like leveling. Like your first set was amazing, and then somehow your second set was even better, and then last night you just demolished that room. It was so good. Man.
Thank you, man. That means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was one of those things where, we never worked with you before, and it's always a little nerve-wracking, and you just stood and delivered, and you, like I said, you came highly recommended from some people we really respect, but yeah, man, everybody's just loving all over Kyle Shire right now.
Thank you. I ain't afraid of no cold rooms.
Yeah, that was a big thing last night. We did kind of have a cold room, and we do a little like mini open mic before the show, and somehow the host for that mic just picked all of our most downer white guys to go. Like, nobody popped the room. Everybody was just, oh, this is depressing. And so
I've never heard so many people do cocaine bits so like low energy, like a lot of low energy bits about cocaine, which is odd.
And as a guy who's never done cocaine, I would never. I do have one cocaine joke, but it's not about me doing cocaine. I just, that type of material is something that's totally like, I don't know how to deliver a good cocaine joke. I assume it seems like it would have to be high energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just odd. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be, but like, it's odd to like be like, so I really love cocaine, you guys. I'm like, do you? Do you really? My bits about cocaine is I think it's the worst drug. I think it's the absolute worst drug. I've tried it. I'm not a fan.
Oh, really?
I've tried a lot of drugs. Cocaine is definitely, it's great for the first 10 minutes. And then you spend the rest of your night trying to get those 10 minutes back. and
it's chasing the rabbit.
Just chasing 10 minutes. And it's like, then you snort your next line and it's good for 8 minutes. And then the next one's good for 6. And the next one's good for 4. And then until you're eventually just like snorting away until you can like feel okay for a minute.
Yeah. Well, my partner in crime, he'll be the first one to talk about taking a bum, but he's only discovered it recently, and he's like, I don't know. It's just like being we're both nerds. It's like it's like discovering some bit of sci-fi that you're just totally pumped about and won't shut up about. He's just fanboying out right now.
Is he kind of sees it like the spice melange? Like he's
like, and he'll be like, we'll just be talking, and he'll be like, you know what we should do? Cocaine.
No.
Stop it. I'm so afraid. I have so much addiction in my family that I've just been absolutely afraid.
You're not missing it. You're not missing out. Missing out.
And then that's the other bit of advice that made me feel a little bit better about it, which was if you're doing hard drugs for the first time in your 30s, I'm 31. You missed the boat, buddy. Like, it's not gonna happen.
It's true. Cocaine is like. I don't know. I feel like DARE programs when they're talking about drugs and stuff, like they're going at it the wrong way. Like when if you're trying to get kids to not do cocaine, you should just talk about how it's not going to be fun. Burst that bubble. Like, don't make it sound like it's impossible to get. Don't make it sound like it's this big, crazy, scary thing. Be like, no. It is dangerous as far as its addictive properties are concerned. But here's how it's not going to be a good night.
Sure. That's more practical advice. Instead of the fear of God thing.
Yeah, which only makes them want it more.
Yeah, you went through. Did you have like the DARE program where you grew up? Yeah, you had all of that. Did you guys have my only memory? I only have 2 memories of the DARE program.
What a program. Oh dear.
There was a talking sheriff car. And
yes.
I was thinking about that. There had to have just been a guy in the back seat with a microphone. Yeah. Or like just, and like the lights would flash when and we were just, I don't know, I was in 2nd grade. I was like, this is amazing.
What?
I can't believe there's a talking drug car.
I thought it was like Knight Rider. And no one in my class knew what Knight Rider was because I grew up with a single mom who was like obsessed with David Hasselhoff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go, man. I never
was that David Hasselhoff?
That was David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, that's right.
And what was the name of the car?
Kip. Yeah. No. He was Kip. He was Kid. Or was the car Kid?
I thought it was Kit.
Is it Kit?
I thought it was
Kit, Kib, or Kit. It might be Kit.
Yeah.
Because that's like he's foxy. And a kid's like a baby fox. That might make sense.
That might be it.
Yeah.
And then I went to. Did you ever go to DARE camp? Did you guys have a DARE camp?
We did not do a DARE camp, but we had a DARE lock-in.
Okay.
Yeah, we had that.
Like it was like a big sleepover type of thing.
It was like all night cosmic bowling, and they basically locked us in with
Yeah. Well, I did lock-ins. Like I grew up pretty religious, and like the church youth group would have lock-ins where we would have just a big old slumber party with a bunch of sweaty preteens, it was gross.
Gross.
It was gross in hindsight. Was your family religious growing up?
No, I actually didn't really know that church was a thing until like second grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I was baptized Lutheran and I have vague memories of church like before my dad died, but like it, pretty much I was, anytime I would ask, like, hey, Mom, why don't we go to church? She'd be like, you can worship God anywhere. Like, you don't have to go to church, which is basically like a Lutheran tenet.
Sure.
Like that's kind of what Lutheranism is all about. Like, you don't need to go through the excess and pomp and circumstance of worshiping and supporting a church to be a good follower of God.
I mean, it's Protestant. Yeah. I mean, they were the first Protestant. It doesn't matter. But that,
I also don't know anything about the Bible. I don't know any religious history. Like, all of that is just complete new information.
Right.
Like,
right. And you mentioned, we'll jump into the thick of it. So I'll do an intro at the beginning to kind of explain the premise of the podcast. But yeah, we talk about dads. Dads. And
where's my tissue?
I know. I'm gonna try not to cry. I'm a crier. And I was actually a little apprehensive about pitching the premise of doing an episode with it because I had heard you mention on Kyle Clark's podcast that your dad had passed away, and so I really appreciate you. I mean, that could be a difficult thing to talk about.
No, I'm happy to talk about it. It happened when I was so young that it's like, it's not necessarily like the act of him, not the act, but like the event of him dying wasn't like the saddest thing. It was like growing up with my mom and sisters after the fact, because it was like, it wasn't like that he was gone. It was like seeing that he was gone through them, which was what was scary the most.
Sure, and watching their reaction to it.
To put it like in a completely cold context, and I don't mean to be this like, I don't know, emotionless about it, but like, I was 3 when he died, like just about to turn 3. So like I have maybe 1 or 2 memories of him.
Sure.
So like, coldly speaking, like I didn't really know him.
Right.
Like I know him through memories that my family has told me, and I know him through pictures, but like, I don't have any of that.
Do you know, I mean, was there ever a point where your mom sat you down and was like, this is who your dad was? I mean, do you know where he grew up and what his life was like? Yeah,
I knew, I knew that he grew up in Barrington. I knew that, I knew it's hard because like my mom it's hard for her to talk about it at length, because she's a very emotional person. She's a lot like me, and she, rightfully so, gets kind of choked up when she talks about it at length. Like my mom never remarried. She never dated anybody else. Like my dad was like basically her one, and so I don't know, it was just a little bit weird ever trying to like figure stuff out. And then, his family basically kind of disowned us after he passed away. And so I didn't really have that access to finding out a lot about him. So I would just kind of go through what people would tell me, and obviously like photo albums and stuff. But it's like, I don't know. It's like, I'll put it to you like this. It's like, if you think about the human brain as like a hard drive, and like you, for example, take your brain and think about it as a hard drive, and think about how much space your dad takes up, and like how, not just like memories, but like the metadata about your dad, like how he takes his coffee, how he drives, how you think he would react to certain situations, all of that stuff. It's just gone. Like it's just not there. Right. And it's like a giant, like dad size hole where all of this data should be, but it's not. And so there's, comic book trivia in its place.
I mean, did you ever get any, like from your sisters or even from your mom, did you ever get any fun, like anecdotal stories about your dad and to kind of get a little bit of a sense of who he was?
I know from my sisters and my mom and like my uncle and grandparents and extended family, like my Aunt Shire, like I know that he was a really, really good guy. I know that he had an entrepreneurial spirit. He owned a children's clothing store called Heaven to 11.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really cute.
That's super cute.
Because he, liked, selling clothes and stuff. And that was back in the day when, when your kid was going to school, you would go to, the specialty stores and get them that real fancy first day outfit and stuff. And they also did a lot of pageants, from what I remember. They had, a lot of fancy pageant dresses. Sure. And that was, a big item.
That's, and was that like a family business that he walked into, or was he just, did he have?
He just started it.
He was like, this is what I'm doing.
He's like, I want to sell little kid clothes, I guess. And, cool. I mean,
and was that based in, I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on your town.
Des Plaines?
Des Plaines.
No, it was in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's where you were saying you were born in North Carolina.
I was born in Wake Hospital in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. Yeah.
And you said you had kind of like a surrogate dad, your uncle?
Yeah. My dad died when I was about 3, as I said. And shortly after, my mom just kind of had it with his family. And so she picked us up and moved us to Chicago, where her parents and brother were. Yeah. And so my Uncle Richard was kind of a surrogate dad for me in a lot of ways. He taught me how to pee in the toilet. You know what I mean?
Sure,
those little things, we would play t-ball and all of those cool, little dad things. I remember my uncle doing them more than my real dad.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's neat that he was able to step up for you like that.
Oh, totally. I mean, he bent over backwards. My mom's family really picked up the slack as far as helping her out, because she was a single mom raising 3 kids. She worked at one time she was working 3 jobs.
Oh my god.
She was a home health nurse, she was an ER nurse, and she also was doing fucking Mary Kay door-to-door shit.
Jesus,
yeah, making deals.
To do it, man. Just, wow, because she's got 3 kids at home that she has to. And then you were saying your sisters helped a lot in raising you too.
Yeah, my sisters are 6 years older than me, and so there were a lot of times where I remember the schedule too, because my mom would work. She would work Saturday and Sunday nights overnight at the hospital, and so my uncle would watch us on Saturday night, and that was always an event because he would let me watch Snick.
Oh yeah,
love Snick. No one talks about Snick anymore.
Nobody. Yeah, the orange couch.
Oh, I gotta love that orange couch.
I think it stood for, was it Saturday night Nickelodeon?
Yeah, Saturday Nickelodeon.
Snick. And it was a cool block of shows, man. It
was. You had All That. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark was the end. But I think there was an Alex Mack. Was she on Snick?
Maybe.
You remember? Yeah. What was it? The Strange World of Alex Mack.
The Secret World of Alex Mack.
Secret World of Alex Mack.
Alex Mack was dope.
Dude, I had one of my first hetero moments, one of those first moments where I acknowledged my sexuality, was the very first episode of Alex Mack where she turns into the goo, and then she turns back and she's naked, but behind you only see her from the shoulder up.
Why that would never happen? That's so weird. Little Larissa Olenek, because I remember her name.
Wow. Yeah, totally. They just had a naked preteen on Nickelodeon.
Wow.
And I
remember what you're talking about. She's doing this. She's kind of behind stuff.
Yeah. And I remember that's doing a thing for me right now.
That's doing a thing.
I don't know what's going on. But it was a great block of shows.
Yeah.
That was a terrible tangent. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. No worries. But yeah, my uncle would watch us Saturday night, and my grandma would watch us Sunday night, and I would always get bummed because my grandma would always just kind of want to read, and my uncle would always want to play board games with me and cool. Watch stuff with me, and
And do you feel was he any kind of a nerd? Did he kind of?
Yeah, he was a huge nerd. He's still around. He's one of those guys who's so smart that it kind of affects his social skills in a lot of ways, and that it was less apparent when I was a kid, and then as you grow up you kind of realize that's kind of those foibles are a little bit more pathological than
sure.
Yeah, like my mom basically takes care of him now, and in a weird way. I mean, he also takes care of her. Like if she ever needs any financial help, if that ever happens, like he's always there to help her out. But great. He can't really leave the house that much.
Oh, really?
And
is he like a social anxiety type of, or?
I mean, I have a lot of social anxiety, so I assume it's the same genetics. So whenever I'm feeling like really homebody-ish, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to end up like Uncle Richard, scared of my house, stuck inside my house.
Yeah. And I mean, was he nerdy at all? Because you're way into pop culture and
he was a huge Star Trek. Still is a huge Star Trek guy. Like he was like, I remember when cell phones first came out. Like he was just like the first time he had a cell phone that looked like a, what do you call it? The little recorder thing that they would wear in Star Trek.
The tricorder.
The tricorder. Yeah, he would always like pop it up and be like, "Beat me up, Scotty," and he would like, I would be like 16 and I'd be like, yeah, Uncle Richard, it's cute. Yeah. Right. He still does it probably.
And it seems like a weird question, but I like to ask it just because it ties into like me and my identity. But I mean, did you? What's your ethnic makeup? Are you?
Super white.
You're super white.
Scandinavian, German, and rumored to be a little bit of Romani thrown in there a little bit.
Yeah, gypsy.
Little gypsy. Yeah. Well, because me and my sister Stacy are like real swarthy, like just dark. Like I'm hairy as fuck, like just dark. And my mom like grew up with like auburn hair and like hazel eyes, and my sister Erin, who's my sister Stacy's twin, is like real short, petite, blonde, green-eyed, like Irish-looking chick. Wow. So like we got the height. Me and Stacy got the height, and kind of like kind of a Germanic sturdiness.
You are a sturdy looking fella.
Sturdy fellow.
That's interesting because. I mean, growing up like half Armenian, that was a big identity marker for me, and so I was just wondering if it played into your background at all.
No, I had that. I'm part of that weird white identity where it's like we just don't really have one. I was kind of jealous of my friends that are like Greek or Italian or Armenian. That they have, but like you have your own traditions and you have your own superstitions or cultures or ways, and
because there's a little bit of us that kind of craves, like kind of wants that like bit of identity, especially when you're younger, I think, because you don't have much.
Yeah.
You don't really know who you are, so you can kind of use culture as a crutch until you can fully form who you are.
Yeah.
But your culture just seems to be Star Trek.
My culture was like Star Trek and like white suburbia, like my friends were like, I'm Jewish, I'm Italian, I'm Greek, and I'm like, I'm Target. Yeah. Like, I'm a department store.
Yeah. I mean, well, and I grew up in a very. I went to a very poor elementary school, and it was primarily Hispanic, and when they have a very rich cultural heritage to kind of and even though I was Armenian, my dad pushed back against Armenian culture so much because it was a lot of it was a big source of misery for him growing up. It was because it's very dogmatic with the Armenian Orthodoxy, and he had to go to Saturday school and Sunday school and Wednesday school, and so I think when he had kids, he was like, I'm not going to force that on them, and because it made me miserable. But in a way, I eventually figured it out. I eventually figured out who I was and who I am and everything. But when I'm going into the school, with these kids that have this, identity, this cultural identity, I felt a little bit like I didn't know who I was, when people would ask, like, what are you? And I'm like, I'm Armenian. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, I don't know either. Like, I'm just this thing, and so that was, my dad's a great dude and he's a great dad. That would be, for me, I feel like that was one of his missteps in my upbringing. But I guess at the same time, too, he was right in that I did figure out who I was. It was a little bit hard, and all I wanted to be like was Mexican. Like, you know, like I was like, I just wanted to be Mexican so bad.
You could be,
Yeah,
honestly. You really could be.
I mean, again, going back to the swarthy thing. Like, I do have a swarthy enough look about me.
Yeah.
Again, for the listening audience, I just look like a squished version of Kyle Shire. I'm like, nearly a foot shorter, but the mustaches are.
The mustaches and the swarthiness. I think we kind of have that like lucky blend where like we can kind of be a little bit half of anything.
Right.
You know, like
just people of the world.
Yeah. I worked at a hookah bar in Chicago. It was one of my college jobs. And one of the ways that I would get lots of tips from the Arabic people that would come through, I would tell them that I was half Lebanese.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I would, if you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, I see it.
Or half Egyptian, something. And then they would like try to speak Arabic to me and I'd be like, I'm just super white.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah.
I never learned.
I'm super white. Sorry about it. But they would tip me super well because they thought I was one of them.
Yeah, that's Armenians aren't quite so generous in that way.
He called in Dave's act, he calls them the poor man's Jew.
I do.
Which is real funny.
Thank you. I get some pushback on that sometimes. I have to reassure it's okay to laugh at that. I don't know if it's okay to laugh at that. I'm just trying to.
Since you're Armenian and you're laughing at it, I say it's okay to laugh at it.
Totally. And so you developed this love of Star Trek. Came from your uncle, and then did that just kind of snowball from there into?
I found Star Wars kind of on my own. I know that like I don't know, like I never really had anybody like sit me down and like show me things,
Sure.
which is like kind of something I feel like I missed out on having a dad, because I feel like dads are kind of that person in your life that are supposed to sit you down and be like, this is good music, you need to listen to this, you know, and like or you know, this is these are good movies, you should watch these kinds of movies. And you know, my uncle didn't really do a lot of that, not because he was only really around like a few days a week, so like it wasn't also like he wasn't really that into music as much as like he wasn't into music enough to be like, I need to affect your taste in music, you know, and my mom was kind of the same way, and my sisters didn't care enough to show me. So like as a result, like I grew up like never knowing the Beatles. I don't know Led Zeppelin. I don't know Grateful Dead. I don't know anything about music. Like I'm almost musically illiterate. I listen to the worst music imaginable. Like just like at the gym listening to Linkin Park. I'm 30. Like
why not, man?
You know, why not? I want to feel. I want to be a part of something real. Like Jesus Christ.
Chester.
I love how he died and everybody was like finally admitting that they were into Linkin Park.
Thank you.
That was so strange.
Yeah, it was like you guys have been shitting on Linkin Park for the last 15 years.
Yeah,
you know. But when that first single, I was a freshman in high school when their like first single like blew up.
Yeah,
and it was a good song. I mean, and Chester's vocals are amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely noteworthy. I don't think it's like reinventing the wheel or anything.
I mean, it was
like
very much a product of its time. Yeah, and that kind of that new metal era of music.
Yeah, like kind of incorporating a little bit of rap and stuff like that. And,
right, but
sometimes white kids from the suburbs just need to listen to some angry white guy talking about burying the sunshine and you know, angels falling from the sky. Like sometimes they just need angry songs like that.
Oh man, and I was jaded. Like I was a musician. I guess I still technically am a musician, but I was playing in and out of punk bands, you know. And that was they were one of my guilty. Linkin Park was kind of like this guilty pleasure that, like I liked them, but I didn't want to tell anybody I liked them.
I think a lot of people are that way, and I just want to tell people it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. I'm here for you.
Well, that's one of those lovely things about age is you're like, why was I like that?
Yeah.
Like, why did? But I think that it goes back to your identity. Like, I identified with punk rock culture. Like that was my tribe at the time, and I had to go with the tribe. But I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know. It's cool. I'm with you, man. We're on this trip together.
Yeah, totally. But now you're doing some really cool stuff, man. I mean, had to deal with a lot, but you're on the Machinima network.
Yeah, I'm hosting and producing a fighting game show on Machinima called Body Count Fighting, which I never thought I would. I never thought I would be lucky enough to be working on a video game show, and I never in a million years thought it would be fighting games because, truth be told, I don't mean to like be inauthentic to the fighting game people that are listening to this because they love me so much. There aren't. But like I didn't really know fighting games until I got into it, and I was working on another show called Inside Esports, and that show got canceled, and my boss was like basically trying to figure out a way to keep us employed, and figured out this show format and was like, I'm bringing you on as on-camera talent and producing, and I was like, okay, sure. And so far it's been great. I've learned a lot, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. So.
Yeah, and what is your mom and what does your uncle think of what you're doing right now? Does he? I
honestly, I think he's proud of me. Yeah. We haven't talked that much recently, just because he's. I don't know. It's a weird time to be a baby boomer.
Sure.
They're
all getting old, and
they're getting old and making all sorts of political choices that aren't necessarily for the best.
Oh, is he a Trump supporter?
I don't know. I just it's almost like his it's almost like he's, I don't know, like he's getting older and isn't making the best sense out of things,
sure.
Like he used to. And, it's, they come from that generation. We were kind of talking about this last night, but they come from that generation of like, mental health isn't a thing.
Right.
So, never go see a therapist. You don't need to go see a therapist. Mm-hmm. That's nobody's business. It's a very like, white middle class, like way of thinking about things. Like, my business is my business. I don't need someone telling me how to, which like kind of, annoyed me growing up because like me and my sisters really needed therapy, especially one of my sisters. But like, we were all kind of dealing with like, they were 10 when my dad died and I was like 3. So, and he died like a week or 2 before their birthday. Oh, and like, it really affected them on a big, deep level. Yeah. And like, my mom never took them to see a therapist because, I don't know exactly why. I just know that she came from that school of thought that like therapy was, there was going to be a stigma, people were going to find out that you saw a therapist, sure. People were going to, judge you for it. And also there were events that happened with my dad's family that I think really shook my mom's confidence in her identity as a mother. Right. And so I think that's why she like doubled down on being a super mom. Sure. And so I think that if we were to have gone to therapy, I think she was afraid that like the therapist would be like, you're a bad mother, or like judge her or something. Like, I think that there is an element to that of why she was so resistant to the idea of therapy. And she admits now that like, if she were to do it again, she totally would have let us go to therapy. But like, given the context of what she was going through, like I understand why she didn't. I still think she should have, and I think she should be going. I honestly think everybody should be going to therapy. I think everyone should be seeing a therapist. We are all fucking insane. Yes, every single one of us. If you think that you don't need a therapist, you are probably the most insane out of all of us. Like you are just, if you don't think you need a therapist, you are fucking eating bologna out of a funnel, like alone in your room listening to Bird Bacharach.
Well, I was going through I was having a rough weekend, and I was like, God, I just wish I could have somebody to talk to and not judge me and just give me advice. And I'm like, oh, I need therapy. Like, yeah. I'm literally needing craving therapy right now. Yeah. And one of the things I always say to my, like I always say I wish I had a cool older sister, like I like
me too.
Yeah. But
just kidding, they're pretty cool.
I mean, and one of the things you said is also another thing we talked about last night, which was kind of contextualizing what your parents were going through at the time. When you think back on like some of those situations you wish your parents would have handled differently. Yeah. And let's see. Are we back?
Hello.
Oh, are we still rolling here? Yeah, we're still rolling.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
sorry.
There we go.
My computer just took a nap.
Stupid computer.
I think it's still going. Yeah,
All right.
Timer's still running. So cool. Thinking back on contextualizing what your parents were going through at the time, and especially back then, that was a scary time. Reagan was doing some real screwy things and how he was addressing mental health. Especially here in California, because I think he was. No, that was more like the 70s, and he was a governor. But either way, yeah. Trying to be, at least for me as a parent now, and having a daughter, I'm like, oh, my parents were just people.
Yeah.
Like, they were just making the best call they could in the moment.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, thank you. Is there anything we're closing in on about 45 minutes.
Cool.
If you want to keep talking, we can.
I don't know. I don't know. Dads are fun. You're a good dad.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. That was, the kind of the aim of this show is, I kind of want to create like an oral history of dads. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I feel like dads deserve more love or anything like that. It's just, for me, I like hearing the dad stories, just as a way of inspiring myself, and I think too, people like talking about their parents. I'd love to do a sad mom podcast one day, or maybe sad mom bonus content on Patreon. You have
to let your daughter grow up and become a sad mom comic, and and take up her father's mantle as the sad parent podcast comedian.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, I appreciate you being. That's it's a heavy topic, especially for someone like you.
Yeah.
And you were.
To round it out, I'll just say I didn't grow up with a dad, but my mom was. Between my mom and my uncle, mm-hmm. They really stepped up, and my mom had to be the mom and the dad in a lot of ways, and for all of the shortcomings and things that could have been better, I could not have been more lucky. And, she was nothing but caring and supportive and lovely. And, when I came out, she could not have been more supportive, or she was just the best. Literally, it was 10 minutes of shock, and then I swear to God, she put a little rainbow pin on her lanyard at work. Aww. And was immediately nope, this is me. I'm the mother of a gay son, and here I am. And
that's amazing.
She's Wonder Woman. She fucking hit it out of the park, and I love her to pieces. Mm-hmm. She's the best.
Oh, that's amazing, man. Yeah. That's so cool. Well, thank you so much. Can you tell the people where to find you on? This will be coming out in April, so I don't know that you can plug any specific shows, but can we talk about where people can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Kyle Shire. I'm real simple, SHIRE, like The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. And if this goes up in April, be sure to check out BCF5. It's happening on April 7th, so either watch it live or check out the VOD. It's going to be real fun. We're going to have some of the best fighting game people in the country come by and do some exhibition matches. It's like UFC meets the fighting game community. So cool. Yeah, it's real fun.
Cool. Well, cool. Thank you, man. And I'll probably do a little wrap around at the beginning and intro at the end. But,
Mark Maron style.
Yeah, it seems like the best way to do it. So, well, cool. Thanks so much, Kyle.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That was my chat with Kyle Shire. There's one point at which my laptop actually goes to sleep. It's right towards the end there, right before we start plugging Kyle starts plugging in social media, and I was panicking pretty bad. I was like, oh no, I lost all the data, but then it picked up, right? So maybe that was a little bit weird. I'm sorry about that. I'll get better. This was our first one. I'll do my best to be better for you guys. It's a learning process for me in a lot of ways. As an interviewer, that's a whole skill set in and of itself. It takes a lot of practice. I mean, people go to school for that. I go to journalism school. I just went to a few semesters of community college. So, just figuring it out. So thank you guys so much for bearing with me on all of that. Goodness, I think that's it. I think that's our first episode, just in the can. We did it. All right. Well, make sure you got all your stuff before you guys take off. Make sure you check the room for phone chargers or anything you may have been using. While you're in here, the train again. You hear it again. See if it sounds again. No? Okay. All right, the train's gone. So yeah, make sure you grab all your stuff. Don't leave anything in the podcast that you may have set down in the process. I mean, if you did forget something, just let me know and I'll get it back to you as quick as I can. All right, guys, I'm just rambling now because I don't know why. I'm a little nervous still having you guys listen to this, and the irony is I could just hit stop and just re-record all of this. I don't know. That's not fun. It's not fun at all. Anyway, it was a great chat with Kyle. Big thank you again once more to Kyle Shire for being patient with me through all of that. You were a fantastic guest, and can't wait to have you back up again, buddy. That was a killer run of shows. You were just absolutely fantastic, and you guys look him up on all the social medias if you can, and if you're in California, book the man, have him come up. He'll burn the place down. He's a fantastic performer. So check out all of his stuff on the Machinima Network. He plugged a little bit of that towards the end of our chat, so do that. And I'll put a link to all of his stuff in the show notes for you too, to make it easy. Either way, no matter what you do, just keep doing it. Just keep doing you. You're great. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.